right, everyone, this is Tim Online Big Blue, bringing you the best in New York Giants sports talk and entertainment. It's the Thursday before the game. Thursday. Oh, we got a lot to talk about today. We got the quarterback situation. We now have an issue potentially with the wide receivers. You have the off-the-cuff comment by Boomer Esiason saying that the Giants should hire Phil Simms as the general manager, and it was basically just an off-the-cuff comment. There was no validity to that. You got Carl Banks sitting there going, you got to figure this to get this to figure the F out for the talking about the New York Giants. You got potentially Jake from State Farm starting. You got the Russell Wilson rumors when he came out and said, I will play for these three teams next year. And the Giants happen to be one of those teams on the list. So you have the trade rumors about that. You have a lot of fun stuff to talk about today. Little housekeeping notes. If you're going to unsubscribe, just unsubscribe. I don't care. Don't really care. You don't need to tell me. You're not going to be missed. Don't let the door split you with a good Lord. Don't let the door hit you with a good Lord split you. You have no bearing in my life. If you leave a derogatory comment and say, I'm going to unsubscribe, go ahead. Goodbye. Your life is probably so meaningless. You writing that comment gives you validity. That's all I'm going to say about that. And also to the people that are leaving nasty comments from a certain page, a certain YouTube page, and we all know where it's coming from. And if you were the people that ran that YouTube page, I would probably tell them to stop. I would. Because if you don't
push it. Don't push it. I'll give you a war you won't believe.
Scorched earth. That's all I'm going to say. So let's talk about Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson came out and said, if I was to be traded, or I was going to move on, or if I was going to do anything, these are the three teams that I would go to. And the Giants were one of those teams. And that sent the certain segment of the Giant fan base, who are all probably Daniel Jones neophytes, all excited, like, oh my God, Russell Wilson said he wants to come here. How exciting. Let's go get him. Let's go trade the farm for him. And then I saw the trade rumors of Daniel Jones and 2 number ones for Russell Wilson. First of all, why would Seattle want Russell Wilson? I mean, Daniel Jones. I've said this before. Go outside the New York bubble and see what people are saying about Daniel Jones. It's never good. It's never good. Just throwing that out there. It's never a good thing. These are the teams, and like I said, these are the teams that he would waive his no trade clause to, and the Giants just happen to be one of them. That is Russell Wilson. And why would you then turn around when you're probably only going to win 5 to 6 games this year to go get a 33-year-old quarterback by moving all of your high draft capital for a quarterback when you sit there, and these are the fans that sit there and tell me there's no offensive line. You sit there and you're going to put him behind a horrid offensive line in your opinions. Why would you do that? What sense does that make to trade potentially, hopefully, 2 quality players for 1 quality player when you think you can't protect him? What's the philosophy in that? I mean, I would love to get Russell Wilson, sure. But I'm not going to mortgage the future, which is already kind of bleak, to get a quarterback who may last another 2-3 years, and you have a feeling is not going to last more under the current regime or offensive line. It just doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense to me. The quarterback situation seems to be clearing itself up a little bit. We've had Joe Judge basically come out and say that Mike Glennon is going to start if he gets out of concussion protocol. Looks like Daniel Jones is definitely out for another week. He saw a specialist over in Los Angeles on Monday. Still listed as week to week, which is fine. I'd rather see Jake. I'd rather see Jake from State Farm. Why not? I don't want to see Mike Glennon again. I would rather see Brian Lewerke. I'd rather see Lewerke in it than I would rather see Daniel Jones or Mike Glennon. And I love the people that are well, we're still mathematically in the playoffs. Sure. Mathematically, we are in the playoffs. 100%. You are correct. You are correct. We are in the playoff race. Wow. We also have to take a look at one of the issues coming up against Sunday is the wide receiver spot. We talk about the quarterbacks, but we got some injury updates on the wide receiver scenario. Looks like Sterling Shepard is close to return. I don't know if he's going to be playing, but he is close to returning. It does not look like Kadarius Toney is going to be in the game as well. And Kenny G was forced out of the game with a hurt rib last week, and he was able to return, but he is going to be not questionable, but that is something that we need to that's something we need to keep an eye on. So we could be limited again at the wide receiver position. So I mean, we just have to wait and see what happens there. It's going to be interesting though, because like I said, everyone's worried about the quarterback, but if we have three main wide receivers out, that's going to be an issue as well. So also on the other side of the ball, Keenan Allen, who was in the COVID protocol, is tested positive on Monday. His status for the game is uncertain. Of course, he leads the Chargers with 86 receptions for 929 yards. Got a couple of guys that, Mike Williams has not been ruled out of the game against the Giants, and neither has Chris Harris. They are both deemed close contacts to Allen, so they are in the key COVID protocol, so we'll have to wait and see what's going on with that situation as well. So you got a lot of interesting scenarios kind of coming around the corner there. We also had Carl Banks. Carl Banks, basically, the Giants broke Carl Banks' brain. Carl, if you ever listen, I love Carl Banks. I really do. Carl Banks is probably one of my favorite announcers or favorite. Well, he isn't my favorite announcer for the Giant games on the radio, but he's also probably one of my favorite people that commentate on the Giants. And I love it because he came out and said, "My wish," and I'm not telling the fans, I'm telling the players, coaches, figure the blank out. Carl said on the team's radio, who of course is the team's radio analyst and former linebacker, great to me, should be in the Hall of Fame. Simple. When there are plays to be made, make the blanking play, but intentional about your assignments. Value every possession like you won't get another one because you don't execute, just know your assignment. And then they came out and said he didn't hold back to his criticism for the players of Joe Judge, calling the loss, this most recent loss, one of my lowest moments as a former Giant, as a fan, as a broadcaster. He even criticized the team's disorganization ahead of the snap and its failure to get the ball to its best offensive players. These are all things that everyone's been saying. And it's great that Carl, who does the radio broadcast, is saying it. Now it's now at the point where it's going to be labeled inconsistent for you. You got to be able to make those plays. That's Daniel Jones. Saquon Barkley, when he was dropping the passes. So Carl went off. It's good. And he basically concluded with the entire operation is broken. When even Carl Banks is coming. Now, Carl Banks, in some ways, to me, he is a guy that is a big, if you listen to him, he probably still is a big Joe Judge supporter. But I think even he is getting tired of the rigmarole of this Giant situation, of this Giant organization, because when you break down Carl Banks to the point he's saying, figure it the F out, that's just not good. That's not showing that you're going in the right direction as an entire organization. In some ways, I feel bad that we've reached this point after. Like I said, I've been watching this team since 1977. I've seen it. I've seen it all. I've seen Miracle of the Meadowlands I was actually at the Miracle of the Meadowlands with Herm Edwards and Joe Pisarcik and Larry Zonka. I was there in 76 when we lost the Meadowlands home opener to the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, it's I've seen the bad, man. I lived through the tail end of the 70s. And people always ask me, how does this compare to the 70s? I'm going to tell you this. It's approaching being worse than the 70s, this last 10-year run. It really is. And I've said it before, it's I believe, in my opinion, it's an organizational issue. It is something that, is something that's going on with the Maras. It's the Linda DeLoray, I can't remember. She used to be the owner of the Mets in the 70s. And the Mets were terrible in the 70s, and she was one of the big reasons. And she also gave Grant, the general manager, the okay to trade Tom Seaver and Dave Kingman, and then in that terrible scenario. She was a bad owner. She sold it to the Wilpons and the Doubledays. Oh, we got the music coming rushing in here. People are like, sometimes I think you just put the music in. No, sometimes what I do is I have it queued up because I don't think how long I'm going to go on a show. And I continue to keep talking because I'm just like that. I'm a narcissist. I want to hear myself talk because I'm awesome. And again, that's me being sarcastic, people. But she basically wrecked the Mets franchise in the 70s. until she sold it to Doubleday Publishing. And that was the turnaround. And the Maras are not going to sell the Giants. But what happens when they changed ownership with the Mets? They changed the whole philosophy of the team. They built it from the farm system. They built it by making smart quality trades. And that's what the Giants have to do. Do I think the Maras will ever get rid of the franchise? No. Tisch can't take over because Maras still owns 51% of the team. But it has to be, and we've talked about it has to be an organizational direction. You have to look from within and say, okay, we've made some bad hires with the McAdoo, with the Shermer, and potentially with Joe Judge. We have brought in players that we have not cultivated. And I loved it because I posted that list of the top pass blockers. I posted it on Twitter, and it's Justin Pugh, Eric Flowers, and I cannot remember who the third Kevin Zeiler. Out of the top five, they were three of the top five. So it's funny, and I've said this before, we do not cultivate talent anymore. If you take a look at our draft record for the last 6-7 years, a lot of the players aren't with the Giants, but they're with other organizations in some capacity, which means, and they're playing, and they may not be stars, but you can't have a star at every position. You need backups. You need quality starters. And that's the problem with this organization. We don't develop players. We used to develop players. We used to hold on to players. And the people will be like, well, you can't hold on to players if it's, in the salary cap era. Yeah, you can. Dalvin Tomlinson got $11 million a year from Minnesota. You take a look at the contracts of Austin Johnson and Danny Shelton. We could have signed Dalvin Tomlinson. But we decided we would take two players at the same salary to fill in for one player. One guy's a career backup, one guy's washed up. It just doesn't make any sense. From this standpoint, it makes zero sense to do what the Giants do. There's one scout I think that's been there since the 80s. And then you got the son of Mara running the scouting department and player personnel department. It's not working. It's time to bring someone in, give them total control of the franchise in reference to, I would say, player development, player development, drafting. In other words, I've said it before, give it to Harbaugh. Harbaugh left the 49ers because of the fact that he was not given the control that he wanted over the organization. Harbaugh's a control freak. He's a great evaluator of talent. He's not afraid to make the daring, bold moves, a.k.a. benching Alex Smith, who is playing well and that just took you to an NFC championship game for a rookie. I'm not a rookie. I forgot. Was Colin Kaepernick a rookie? I don't remember. But putting in Colin Kaepernick. And then going to the Super Bowl. That's what we need. I've said it before. I make fun of Riverboat Ron all the time. But you know what? Riverboat Ron Rivera does not flinch when he makes these decisions. And sometimes when they go horribly wrong, like they did last year in the Giant game, going for 2, he backs up and he stands behind it. Like I always say, he stands tall before the man. And that's what we need in this organization. We need to flush it out.
This town needs an enema.
That's what we need, and that's what we have to do. Are they willing to do it? I doubt it. I seriously doubt the Giants are going to be willing to do what needs to be done. And I'm hoping we don't go through another 10 years in the desert looking for something to try to turn this organization around. But I'm tired of having a coach that's learning on the job. I'm tired of having a quarterback who is going to be the if quarterback for another 2 years if we have to, because he's been that for the first 3 years. Other organizations admit their mistakes and move on and go from there. And I think the Giants need to do the same thing. They need to figure out when they've made a mistake. Don't continuously make the same mistakes. And if you make a mistake, continue to hold on to that mistake until you deem it optically available to then make a move and make a change. That's all I'm going to say about that. That's all I got to say about that. Life is like a box of chocolates because the Giants always suck. Sorry. It just gets to you. It gets to you after a period of time. It just wears on you. You want the Giants to be good. I had someone leaving a comment saying, I unsubscribed, but I've resubscribed back to you because you were right about everything over the last 2 seasons. And I'm going to say, and he even wrote, but let's hope, I want to see if the Giants start winning, if you'll do positive videos. And I've told him, I said, you know what the problem is? People listen to the videos and it's like the Kurt Warner film breakdown of Daniel Jones against the Washington team. It's a 16-minute video, 2 minutes about the things that Jason Garrett should do. 14 minutes is everything that Daniel Jones did wrong and should improve on. And the Daniel Jones lover only picked out the first 2 minutes and said, see, it's all Jason Garrett's fault. I say plenty of great, nice things about the Giants daily. I say everything that they do well. I point things out like Xavier and McKinney, how well he's playing. I mentioned that Tay Crowder, why he's undersized, is doing great is doing well as a middle linebacker. I say things all the time that are positive. The problem is people just focus on the negative because that's all they want to focus on. That's all, So, I mean, it's just, oh, and then the person, like I said, and then the person actually sent me an email. It was actually a nice email. And basically in the email, they just said, hey, listen, I finally get your opinion. I finally get your point of view, and you were right. And I'm not looking for that validity. It was just nice that he understands what this channel is and what this channel is about, that we're going to be honest. It's truth, justice, and the American way. Take that, DC Comics or Marvel, or whoever the hell you are. And again, this is Tim with Online Big Blue, bringing you the best of New York Giants sports talk entertainment. And as always, that's my theme music. Every good hero should have some.